Good morning and welcome to Flat Earth United. In this video we will be discussing a response made by Left Hand Path to A Truth Will Set You Free. What I'm going to do is play out his response video that he made yesterday and published for A Truth Will Set You Free, so you can get a bit of an idea of how Left Hand Path handled a rather interesting response from another videographer. So without further ado, I'm going to play out that particular video. Throughout this 45-minute or so video, I may play out some of the chat, so if you do chat in this stream, some of it may be visible at various stages, so keep it cordial if you would. If you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to stay up to date with videos from Nathan Oakley 1980.
The other night with Martin Liedtke and Nathan Oakley, entitled Flat Earth United, the Satanic Panic, in which we spoke about moral hysteria and moral panics, specifically satanic panic. And as would perhaps be expected, certain people see this video and they make their own responses. Now, usually I don't watch response videos or anything like that because, you know, people are free to like or dislike whatever they like. It's up to you what you want to like and dislike. But since this response video actually comments on things that I have personally said in the video, I feel that I'm going to actually respond to the person. So we're just going to look at the video, and I'm not here to take the mick. I'm not here to argue with the person. I'm just here to actually respond to what he says about what I have said in the video.
Before we get into this show completely, into all of the nonsense that they're going to spew out here in a minute, I just want to warn you, if you are a new Christian, you need to stay away from these people, because they're dogs and they'll steal your faith in a heartbeat. They will steal your faith. They will beat it down and beat it down and beat it down. First they will tell you that you can't stand on the Word of God, that it was written by men. Okay, that's not true. The Word of God was written by holy men as God spake. Okay, so we got that cleared up.
Well, first I'm just going to say that obviously I can't respond for Nathan Oakley or Martin Liedtke. I can only respond for myself. As for whether the Bible is divinely inspired or not, well, that's a religious controversy, that's a religious question, and I'm not concerned with that. However, obviously the Bible was written by human beings, that much is for certain. I'm not interested myself in stealing anybody's faith. I am actually completely for freedom of religion. Therefore, if you want to believe in any form of Christianity or any form of any other religion, as long as that religion is not harming anybody, then you are free to do so. So, as I say, I can't respond for any of the other people on the channel, but I'm not sure really why you would choose to open with that, because that is certainly not something that I have ever believed in myself.
And go, wow, that's weird. Must be satanic.
Yeah, that's how a lot of it starts, and I see this in comments, and that's kind of how I got into making the comedy videos, because I found it.
See, so right away he started off with trying to discredit the people that are going to come out and say that this show is satanic, just simply for the title. Nope.
My understanding of this was that the title of the video was Satanic Panic, which is a phrase which refers to a certain type of moral hysteria. And I think what the host of the show was getting at, and again, I can't comment for the host of the show, I can only comment for myself, but I think what he was saying there is people will see a title and immediately go to a knee-jerk reaction. And knee-jerk reactions are an interesting psychological concept, and it's that type of psychology which was actually the topic that was being discussed in the video.
So they're very clever in trying to already discredit what we're going to say about this, right? Already.
I actually just thought it was funny. Where, you know, it's like...
Because they know we will.
Well, I can prove that this is satanic because there's pyramids in it, look. What more proof do you need? Pyramids. Well, that's blooming Egyptian. You know, that's not... You know, it's just... If that's different...
Okay, let's dissect his symbol there for a minute. He's got the false god of Ra there. See? And I categorize gods and God. Okay? That's one of the false gods, Ra, with your... I don't know if that would be the Eye of Ra or whatever. But you got the pyramid, you got the circle. Doesn't that circle with the things in it look like the wheel in the Vatican Square or circle? Right? So you got those two crosses down there. We all know what those are, the Ankhs, right?
Well, speaking as somebody who has an interest in Egyptology, I would say it's fairly logical for that person to have an ancient Egyptian avatar. Any suggestion that ancient Egyptian gods are false or they're Satan or something is a religious statement, and I'm not here to argue with religion. All I will say is that Egyptology and the study of ancient Egypt is a form of history. They most certainly are not Satan. They are historical gods from a culture and a time zone which is much different from ours. People who study Egyptology or are interested in it are interested in the history of the ancient Egyptian people, their customs and their beliefs. This has got absolutely nothing to do with religion at all.
Silly. And so that's why I made those videos in the first place. In a devil, I believe in evil. You know, it's all men, and it's all designed for the. It's men controlling men. But with Satanic Panic, a lot of them.
Revelation 17:17 says that God controls the minds of men.
Well, such a statement from the Bible could well be an interesting metaphysical discussion. However, that wasn't the topic at hand in the video at this point. What I was referring to there is that at the end of the day, acts of evil are committed by evil people, evil men. Now, whether you believe there is a devil behind them, inspiring them or whatever, is totally unimportant, because an act of evil is committed in this physical world that we live in by an evil person. And that's all there is to it.
My experience is concerned with all this type of thing is it always comes down to the actions of men in the end. It's not the actions of devils at all. It is the actions of men.
That's right. It is the actions of men. It is the actions of men controlled by God. That's what it is. And we see it. We see it. They're trying to convince you that these elites don't worship Lucifer, when it's a known fact that they do.
Well, you know, yet again, that's a rather silly thing to say. The person has actually agreed themselves that it's the actions of man. Now, it doesn't matter to me what somebody's religion is, because what somebody's religion is does not make them good or evil by default. And that was actually the entire topic about so-called Satanic Panic. You know, there could be evil committed in the name of Christianity, and there certainly has been. And there could be evil committed in the name of Satanism or witchcraft, and there has been. What I'm saying is, the actions of evil are the actions of evil people. What their religion is, or what type of hat they wear, or, you know, what food they eat, has got nothing to do with it. It is absolutely down to the actions of evil people. I'm not bothered what they worship. I'm bothered about people being good people, and that's the end of it.
They got to spend an hour and 14 minutes on this because we are making a difference. We are making Christians draw a line between the Satanists and Christians. Whose side are you on?
Well, firstly, I would just say that, of course, you don't have to spend any time watching a video that you don't like at all. You know, you can stop it. There's a little X in the corner of the screen. You don't have to watch anything. Now, I don't know if that statement was aimed at me or whether it was aimed at sort of this community, that you know, the hot potatoes or whoever. But if it's aimed at me, whose side are you on? Me, personally, I'm on the side of humanity. And that's it. I don't care what your religion is. I'm not at all interested what you believe or what you don't believe. You can be a Christian, an atheist, a Hindu, a Satanist even. You can be anything, as long as you are displaying humanity. That's all there is to it as far as I'm concerned. That's whose side I'm on. The human race. Why? I'm part of the human race. And so are you.
And all of the deceptions that go along on YouTube are to attack that faith. It is to tear it down, piece by piece by piece. First they tell you the Bible isn't any good. Then they tell you the Bible's satanic. Then they tell you Jesus Christ is a myth. Then they tell you Satan don't exist. Then they tell you it's just men. Then they tell you all kinds of other lies.
Of course, absolutely nothing of that nature was discussed in the programme that I was on, neither by myself nor by Martin or Nathan. And we were merely talking about moral hysteria, which is a form of media study, really. Of course, if you search on YouTube, you will find all sorts of videos about different religions, and some of them will be really scathing and angry towards religions, and others will be totally for one and totally against another. And well, that's because religion is actually a very controversial topic. I myself have no preference to what your religion is at all. As I say, as long as you're a decent person, you don't harm anyone, you can believe that your bedroom drawers are God, for all I care. It's got nothing to do with me in the slightest.
Jesus did not come to bring peace and unity. Jesus came to divide. Jesus came to divide the wheat from the chaff, the unbelievers from the believers, because this is the end. This is the beginning of the end. This is where the line is being drawn. This is where the chalk line is being snapped.
Well, again, my personal belief on this, if anyone wants to know my personal belief, is that the idea of the last days and Judgment Day and all this is part of a psychological process, and is basically the same reason why post-apocalyptic themes are so popular in fiction. For some reason, part of the human condition finds it cathartic or interesting to imagine a time when humanity dwells upon Earth no more, and it's a very interesting topic. But I would not look at it religiously myself. Others would. And as far as I'm concerned, that's fine, because I believe in freedom of religion and freedom of thought.
Are you going to sit and just do what I did and let these people talk like this and then just say, oh, well?
Yes, absolutely, of course. As somebody who believes in freedom of religion, people are free to make videos about their religion, or to discuss religions, or discuss the history of religions. Again, as long as they're not putting out content that is harmful to people, I'm not interested what content they put out whatsoever.
Once you strip all that away, it's just the actions of human beings.
I put Anton LaVey on the trailer for this, and it got demonetised. So
yeah, because Anton LaVey is a known Satanist. And they're going to try to tell you that Aleister Crowley didn't worship Satan. It's a very dark rabbit hole to go down, but if you have enough faith, you can go down it and come back out.
Well, at the end of the day, Aleister Crowley is just a person from history. Like everything else that we've discussed, it's just a man. Was Aleister Crowley a nice guy? Would you want to bring him home to sort of have dinner with you? Probably not. What we were mentioning with Aleister Crowley there is that he actually wasn't a Satanist. Aleister Crowley had a belief called thelema, which is Greek for the word will. And if anything, the gods and deities and imagery in most of Aleister Crowley's work was ancient Egyptian, with a bit of Greek and things like that thrown in. So it's a factual statement to say Aleister Crowley did not worship Satan, because he didn't. That doesn't mean Aleister Crowley was nice, or Aleister Crowley was lovely. It's just a statement of fact, and that's all there is to it.
And probably the best one. I was going to use something like Vishnu. So you've got Hindus worshipping an idol, in essence.
Hindus do worship an idol, yes they do. Buddhists worship an idol. Everybody that does not believe on the Lord Jesus Christ is worshipping an idol. I don't even worship the cross that Jesus Christ was hung on, because it's an idol.
It's very difficult to discuss religions without bringing up topics like worshipping idols. In fact, even worshipping idols is a topic of division within Christianity itself. Now, Hindus, as was stated on the video, have many hundreds of deities, and they worship them on specific days, often with little statues of them, which are indeed like idols. I mean, that's got nothing really to do with anything other than discussing different religions and what they believe. I certainly myself don't worship idols of any description, of the religious or of the physical, and neither do most people, really, when it comes down to it.
I have a map hanging on my wall that I'm ready to tear off. The new standard map of the world that I bought when I was listening to Jaren. Because it's an idol. I don't know if that's what the Earth looks like.
Well, in that case, it wouldn't actually be an idol, though. It would just be a hypothetical map. But it's absolutely true that, of course, you don't know that the Earth looks like that. Neither do I, and neither does anybody else. These maps and models in the flat Earth community are hypothetical maps. They aren't real maps. That's not what the Earth actually looks like. But you can take them or leave them. If you feel uncomfortable with the map, take it down. It's just a map. I personally wouldn't say it was an idol, myself, however.
And that's abnormal to a Christian, or to me, let's say. So I would see them...
Yes, it's abnormal to us because we have God in our hearts, and our spirit does not mix with your spirit.
Now, you see, I would respectfully disagree with any statement of religious division such as that. People can believe in any religion of which they personally feel drawn to. As long as they don't harm someone, I don't mind. And the thing is, all religions believe that they've got God in their heart. And that's valid. It's equally valid. It's valid for the Christian to say that he's got God in his heart, just as it's valid for the Buddhist or the Hindu to say that they have God in their heart. I absolutely disagree with division. My God's bigger than your God. That's really quite juvenile and silly, and I would completely disagree with that.
Videos, because I actually just thought it was funny. Where, you know, it's like, I used to say it all the time with, well, I can prove that this is satanic because there's pyramids in it, look. What more proof do you need? Pyramids.
Pyramids are an idol. A false idol. Somebody asked me the other day on Facebook, and we ended up arguing over it because they were telling me that the pyramids aren't an idol, they aren't satanic, oh, blah, 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 blah. The pyramids were either built by ancient Egyptian Freemasons or of the such, stonemasons or whatever. Whoever built them was very clever, yes. And they're idols to false gods.
The pyramids of ancient Egypt come from a very different time zone and a very different culture to our own. And their gods and their deities reflect their culture and their time zone. If cows and pigs had gods, they'd look like cows and pigs. Chances are we wouldn't have our gods looking like that, but they would if they had gods. And that's really the whole thing. It's really not right in a historical or in a psychological concept to say that God is false, because the believer in that God thinks that's the real God and that yours is false. And that's just a spiralling thing which gets nobody anywhere. And it's actually just... Well, why would you do that? These things are parts of history. You don't have to believe in them, but they're parts of history, and that's what they are. They're there to be studied, or people find them fascinating. It's nothing to do with two religions warring against each other. It's just a part of history, of human history.
He's destroyed women, children, men, maids, all because they worshipped false idols. And once you get into worshipping the false idols, you get into all the orgies and the satanic rituals and the practices. Look what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Most of this, again, just comes down to two things. The first is that as long as somebody's beliefs or practices do not harm people, that they are free to believe and practice them. The second is just that thing, the freedom of religion. I personally would never worship or believe in a god who would kill innocent women and children based on something so daft as somebody else worshipping an idol. I find that preposterous, and I would never believe in such a thing. But if somebody else wants to believe in that, I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to try and parade them as being bad or evil for believing in that. They can believe in it if they want. As long as they're not harming anyone, I don't care.
Them in Egyptian. You know, that's not. You know, so it's just if that's different from. Oh, it's different.
God delivered 10 plagues onto Egypt because they refused to worship him.
Again, as somebody who is interested in Egyptology and ancient Egypt, I don't believe that. Okay, I just don't believe that. And I'm never going to believe it. But if you want to believe it, then you can. There's nothing stopping you.
Christianity. Therefore, it must be objectively wrong and objectively evil. And I actually just found that quite funny when I saw that, because it was just...
That's because you've been given over to that. That's why you find it funny, right? Some Christians have a saying: if I be a fool, let me be a fool at least for Christ, not for Satan.
People's senses of humour are subjective. Some people may love a particular comedian, and somebody close to them may hate that same comedian. It's subjective. I really do not believe that somebody's sense of humour is a religious point in the slightest. It really isn't. It's got nothing to do with religion, what you find funny or what you don't find funny.
Galactic, you can never know with the internet. This is the problem. I live in a very sheltered world from all these things, I must do.
But it's a good example because it's certainly the case that people have, sorry Martin, people have labelled parts of that as satanic. You know, it's blamed on the devil today in modern times.
Been cut off and just reappeared.
In modern times, in the day of age and reason, or yeah, right?
Again, I can't speak for the host, but what he appeared to be saying there, and the context of it certainly, was in the idea of blaming the devil, physically blaming the devil for something going wrong. We associate that with like a medieval mindset. It's a medieval consciousness. But Satanic Panic was bringing that witch hunt consciousness into the modern day, which wasn't very healthy and wasn't very successful, and really wasn't very good at all to do that. Even Jesus himself in the Bible said, you know, that was then, this is now. Things have to move forward. We can't go through our life blaming the devil for everything. Things have to move on, and consciousness and thought and our understanding of the universe and of the way the world works has to move on. It has to.
The day and age of do as thou wilt, right? The day and age where abortion is okay, right? Where it's okay to kill babies still. In this day and age, where there's homeless vets still living on the streets after serving their country in a war for the elites.
Now, I'll be honest here, I'm not sure why these topics were brought up, because none of that was discussed in the original video, none of it at all. And I don't know what the people hosting the video or the other guests thought about such topics. Abortion, you know, it's a very loaded topic. At the end of my opinion on that is, at the end of the day, it is the woman's choice. It's her body. You don't have to like it. I don't like it myself, but it's their choice. It's not up to me whether someone has an abortion. As far as homeless army veterans living on the streets, that's a very emotive topic, and you know, that's a political statement. And I think you'd find that most people are on the same page with regards to that. That people say they care about the veterans, and then they chuck them out onto the streets. But most people are absolutely going to be on the same page with that. And really, we didn't talk about that in the video at all.
There is. We've got you back loud and clear. We're just talking about the modern phenomenon of the same thing that happened in the 80s with the Satanic Panic, where people will literally blame Satan for paedophilia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, damn right I will. Oh, you think paedophilia comes from God? Puh.
Paedophilia, or more specifically child abuse, is a horrendous crime. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what it should be treated as. Nobody's saying it comes from God, and it is unhelpful to say it comes from Satan, because it is a horrendous crime, and that is what it should be treated as.
Look at the Baphomet, the hermaphrodite. Right? I don't need to go on about the child sacrifices that are going on, the 50 million babies that are being aborted every day, the blood that's being spilt. Okay? this new blood over intent ritual that's going around YouTube, and I got Christians coming to me asking me if this is okay as long as I pray the name of Jesus over it. Since when did Jesus ever demand your blood?
Well, I personally think that this blood over intent fad is stupid. It wasn't mentioned in the topic, it wasn't mentioned in the hangout, but I think people cutting themselves and saying prayers over it is a load of rubbish. As for missing children and this topic again of child abuse, these are very serious crimes, and that's what they should be treated as.
Most Satanist organisations are very much atheistic in their beliefs or their lack of beliefs.
And that's why the mainstream Church of Satan was created, so that these people could sit here and say, oh look, Satanism isn't nothing other than atheism. Baloney.
Well, you know, we actually did discuss on the original video about different types of Satanism, and these things like Levian Satanism, which is your Church of Satan, and the Satanic Temple, and all these other things, well, they are atheists. There's no debate about that. They are atheist organisations. Theistic Satanism and spiritual Satanism and all these other things, which I actually described in the video as being silly, aren't atheists, and they are something different.
Secular humanist with horns. That's like what the Church of Satan is like.
They're out sacrificing cats and chickens, right? While the real Luciferic religions are out raping children and sacrificing children.
Well, the actual Church of Satan, started by Anton LaVey, the atheist organisation, doesn't tolerate illegal activity and does not teach the sacrifice of animals at all. If any member of the Church of Satan was found sacrificing animals, then the authorities would be contacted. As far as sacrificing children in other forms of Satanism or other cults, this may or may not happen. If it does, it's a crime. It's not a religious thing, it's a crime, a horrible crime, and that's what it should be looked at as.
Can you summarise for people who are watching, what makes a Satanist? What is an actual Satanist?
I think an actual Satanist...
Okay, and so I'm going to start saying antichrists, okay? Will that make you feel better? Is that title okay? So instead of hollering Satanist at all of yous, maybe I'll just holler Antichrist instead. You can call me an auto-antichrister, okay? That's what you can call me. I'm YouTube's new auto-antichrister. That's what I am, okay? So I'll stop calling y'all Satanists, alright? Even though that's what it boils all down to, in the end. Alright, at the bottom of the pot, it's just a bunch of crusty old Satanists sitting there simmering in their own stew.
Well, whatever you want to call people is your prerogative. As long as you're not making criminally libelous statements towards individuals, I'm not bothered what you call people at all. You know, I myself wouldn't consider myself to be anti-Christ, because I believe in freedom of religion. So if somebody feels drawn to Christ, then go to Christ. But if somebody feels drawn to the gods of Hinduism or of Buddhism or, you know, of Shintoism, then go to them. That's not being anti the other religion just because they want to go to that one instead. It's just a logical statement of believing what you want as long as it doesn't harm someone.
Well, you know, there are different types of Satanists. First of all, there is atheistic Satanism and theistic Satanism. Now, atheistic Satanism, which is like your Church of Satan, your Anton LaVey, your Satanic Temple, all that type of thing, it's kind of like...
Anton LaVey, Aleister Crowley. This video's getting to be very long, so I'm going to just try to keep it short now. Not short, but I'm going to try to cut it back a little bit here. Let's look up Aleister Crowley. Satanist Aleister Crowley, the most wicked man in the world. Great documentary. Aleister Crowley bio. Let's refine this search a little bit.
I'm not entirely sure why the video creator decided to sort of Google Aleister Crowley. Firstly, Anton LaVey's beliefs and Aleister Crowley's beliefs were so totally different from each other. They wouldn't have got on if they met in real life, let's say it like that. And as I've said earlier, you know, they're just men, they're just people from history. They might, you know, some of them might have been alright people, some of them were probably total bastards. it doesn't make any difference. They're just people from history. You can like them, you can read their stuff, or you can hate them and avoid their stuff. It doesn't matter.
What began with the disgusting revelations of the British Top of the Pops host Jimmy Savile and his decades of rampant pedophilia, necrophilia, and Satanism has convulsed.
Okay, so I know this is InfoWars, alright? But this is not the InfoWars channel, okay? This is Pizzagate News. They're using an InfoWars clip exposing this pedophile that has lived over in Britain, is dead now, but was friends with the Queen and royalty, and was working for the BBC, owned the BBC, folks. Okay?
Not only was Jimmy Savile never brought up in the official and original discussion that we had, but you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who would support Jimmy Savile. You know, the actions of Jimmy Savile were morally reprehensible, illegal, and disgusting, and everybody would be on the same page with that. Why would you want to bring that up? At all. Nobody is supporting Jimmy Savile. Ever.
Full-fledged unmasking of a 3-decade...
And they're trying to say this stuff doesn't exist.
Yet again, Jimmy Savile was not brought up in the discussion. Neither myself, nor I presume any of the other people on the panel, would ever suggest that Jimmy Savile or his crimes did not exist. Suggestions that Jimmy Savile may have been a Satanist are pie in the sky, and actually are unimportant, because all that matters, as I've said before, is did Jimmy Savile commit horrendous crimes? Yes. Well, then they should be looked at as for what they are, which is horrendous crimes.
Long callboy ring, fueled by government officials.
Excuse me if I say WTF. What the... you know? Excuse me. Yeah, I'm getting worked up, because I see what they're doing, right? I see what they're doing.
Entertain.
You seem very close at this point to losing any credibility that you would have had. Not that you had any, but you really seem close to losing it totally here. Come on, what do you see? Come on.
I mean, there is no meat in Nathan Oakley's live stream today. There's no meat, just all bones, and I'm spitting it all out. But some of this stuff that Alex Jones InfoWars is showing is okay, right? Like, just make sure you discern, all right, between some of the lies they tell and some of the truths they throw in there. I mean, because there's nowhere you can go today to get the ultimate truth and just the truth. Everybody's got their agenda to cause panic or division or to bring more people over to their side, make more money.
But that's exactly what Satanic Panic is about. It's about examining things and finding out which bits are true and which bits are false. Because there is a great deal of falsehood stated in a lot of these cases and things, and it can take away from real, abuse or real violence, because there's so much garbage. And so knowing which bits are rubbish and which bits are true, that's against basic humanity. It's what it's all about.
So, satanic ritual abuse, SRA, sometimes known as ritual abuse, ritualistic abuse, organized abuse, sadistic ritual abuse, and other variants, was the subject of a moral panic.
A moral panic. That's what we were talking about. A moral panic.
As a form of othering. Okay, so they're trying to say in Flat Earth United that these things don't exist, right? That these are unfounded allegations, right?
Well, what I was saying in the video is that there are in existence in history many cases of moral panic, satanic panic, which are absolutely hoaxes, frauds, psyops, whatever you want to call them. And my idea, my interest in this is anti-moral panic, anti-mass hysteria, where we have to look at what's really true. So, yes, I am saying that a lot of these things that you read about aren't true, or if they have some truth to them, it's been warped and changed by people with agendas, and it is up to us as supposed truth seekers to look at these things and ask what's actually true and what is just the delusions of somebody who wants to see something that isn't there.
The billionaire's private jet at the center of a sex scandal making lurid headlines across the world. Sleazy Wall Street tycoon Jeffrey Epstein used the...
Now this is coming from the media. Why is the media telling us about this guy? Don't they want to protect these people? right?
Well, no. Nobody is suggesting that paedophile rings, or, what is actually child abuse rings, don't exist. I've never suggested that, and most other people who are talking about satanic panic have never suggested that. Of course child abuse happens. What we are saying, or what I was saying at least, so again I can only talk for myself, what I am saying is that the idea of a child abuse ring, with some evidence to support that it's happening, is very different from a moral panic about some of the ludicrous things which are suggested in satanic panic cases, which can be demonstrably proven as false.
Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry, but I am, as a father, I would never hang around or borrow anything from a pedophile. Convicted pedophile at that.
But of course you wouldn't. Neither would I, and neither would almost anybody else who brings up children. This is basic humanity. We care for our children. This doesn't take away from the fact that the original discussion that I had on the programme wasn't about paedophilia. It was about mass hysteria and satanic panic and misinterpretations of so-called satanic practices. I'm afraid that hasn't actually got anything to do with child abuse. Of course you wouldn't trust your children with somebody who you thought was a paedophile, and you certainly wouldn't trust your children with a convicted paedophile. Come on. Nobody would.
Behavior. And that's what this is. It's designed behavior. So, these elites know. They know how to create panics. And so they're putting people in the movement to do just that. And I think this time they're creating a panic against Christians. That's what they're doing.
But surely that's exactly what the topic of the programme was about. It's most certainly what my own work on mass hysteria is about. It's about demonising people because of their beliefs or because of their lifestyles, based on scant evidence, spurious evidence, or no evidence at all. Moral panic and moral hysteria criminalise innocent people. They are not good things. Witch hunts weren't good things. It's strange, but you seem to accept that there are moral panics. You seem to accept that these are mass hysterias, that it's not true, that it's a form of satanic panic. So why the content?
My Bible doesn't tell me to hurt these people. My Bible doesn't tell me to hate them. It tells me to hate what they do.
Well, I guess this then could be seen as religious difference or doctrinal difference. And I understand that that is the old adage of, love the sinner but hate the sin, all that type of thing. Of course, I completely disagree. I don't hate what anybody does, as long as it doesn't put people in danger. I hate what people do when it puts people in danger, such as drink driving, or beating people up or something like that. But if somebody's beliefs, or if somebody's practices or lifestyles didn't harm anybody, then I would be a complete irrational fool to say that I hated what they did, and it would be grossly hypocritical. It's really not a logical thing to say at all.
So these people don't believe in any religious texts except for the satanic religious text and the occult religious texts, the ones that bash the God of the Bible, right?
I can't speak for anybody else on the panel, but I can certainly speak for myself. Religious texts, I take them all as equals. I'm actually quite interested in looking into different religions and different beliefs. I read things and I take out bits that I like and leave the bits I don't like. I wouldn't particularly buy a book that was just literally hating on a particular religion or hating on a particular god, because that would be quite daft, and it's not my type of thing. Like some atheist you hate God book. It's not my type of thing. No, you're absolutely wrong. Certainly with regards to me with that.
So are these people riling up the non-believers to a so-called Christian hunt?
Well, a Christian isn't above the law, so if a Christian was committing a crime, they should be prosecuted for that crime. A Christian also, if they made offensive, libelous or insulting statements to someone, has to expect to be called out on that. Now, you haven't actually insulted myself or anybody on your video, and good, thank you for that. But otherwise, no. If a Christian's just living the life of their choosing, then I am perfectly willing and wishing for them to have all the best for it. Because that's my philosophy. Carpe diem, seize the day.
Add more weight to the ritualistic events surrounding the tragedy of 9/11. Crowley's rock star-esque influence has spread through entertainment, Freemasonry, and political spheres for decades.
And now the Flat Earth movement. See, folks? You see? So I'm going to tie it up there. Maybe I'll do a part 2, but I'm going to get this one up because it's going to fill my tablet up.
And that is the end of the video. Well, you know, it is to be expected that you get these type of responses, and I just wanted to comment on what I had said. I think where I'm coming from with moral panic and moral hysteria is that your religion or your beliefs or your lifestyle doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. It's your actions that do that. If your actions reveal you to be a good person, then I'm going to say he's a nice guy. If your actions reveal you to be a bad person, then I'm going to say, you know, he's not a very nice guy. There is bad and good committed by people of all religions and no religions. And going after somebody based on their lifestyle, which could include their religion, when it's a perfectly harmless thing that doesn't harm anybody, it's just that it's a little bit different to what I believe, therefore it must be stopped. Now that's dangerous. It's pathetic, it's authoritarian, it is essentially fascist to say, you know, if you believe something I don't believe, it should be stopped, or it's evil, or it's wrong. It's wrong, objectively wrong. I accept people of all religions, as long as they aren't harming anybody. All religions and all lifestyles, as long as they don't harm anyone. Now, I think that Martin Liedtke, who I was speaking to on there, is a very genuine, down-to-earth, lovely guy. And Nathan Oakley, I've not spoken to him since, you know, I've only spoken to him on that one video. He was extremely accommodating to get me on the programme, because I was stretched for time. And I'm very pleased and honoured that he would actually accept me as a guest on the programme. I really don't think that your video trying to call these people and myself antichrists for discussing this is really acceptable at all. It's really stupid, to be honest. You're free to believe these things, but I mean, from my perspective, that's really daft, and it's actually quite funny, because it's almost like you're displaying satanic panic. You're displaying the very thing that I was talking against. It's very, very odd. Very, very, very odd.
A massive thank you to Mark, otherwise known as Left Hand Path, for making that video response. I will leave a link to the original video by Left Hand Path in the info box below this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.